Good afternoon. Howdy. Let me start by saying that several years ago, Senator Daniel Patrick Moynihan's wife Elizabeth sent me a wooden shank that had been used to put together the old schoolhouse on the rural farm where he wrote his books. We had been talking about the kinship that I felt with Senator Moynihan for his thoughtful approach to governance, his willingness to put our country ahead of party, and his search for solutions rather than political expediency. And she sent me this chink from the old farmhouse and had a note on it saying, 2 square pegs and 2 round holes. Some people say I'm a Republican who became a Democrat, but that I often sound like a Republican in a room full of Democrats, or a Democrat in a room full of Republicans, and actually I take that as a compliment. More people in this country call themselves political independents than either Republicans or Democrat. I happen to agree with them. Our country is more important than a label. Democrats in years past understood this. People like Sam Nunn, Scoop Jackson, Mike Mansfield, John Kennedy, among others. Americans are disgusted by all this talk of Republicans and Democrats calling each other the enemy instead of reaching out across the table and actually finding ways to work together. I know what an enemy really is from hard personal combat. The other party's not the enemy, they're the opposition. In our democracy, we're lucky to have an opposition in order to have honest debate. It's creative. It's healthy. No opposition party in countries like China because there are no elections in China or in other non-democratic authoritarian societies. Over the years, I've worked with Democrats or Republicans, and my basic beliefs, the principles of leadership and love of country have never changed. I proudly served for 4 years in the Reagan administration. As a Republican, I proudly served in the Senate as a Democrat. But we need to be honest here, because the very nature of our democracy is under siege due to the power structure and the money that finances both political parties. Our political candidates are being pulled to the extremes. They're increasingly out of step with the people they're supposed to serve. Poll after poll shows that a strong plurality of Americans is neither Republican nor Democrat. Overwhelmingly, they are independents. Americans don't like the extremes to which both parties have moved in recent years, and quite frankly, neither do I. I know I'm going to hear this, so let me be the first to say it. I fully accept that my views on many issues are not compatible with the power structure and the nominating base of the Democratic Party. That party is filled with millions of dedicated, hard-working Americans, but its hierarchy is not comfortable with many of the policies that I have laid forth, and frankly, I'm not that comfortable with many of theirs. For this reason, I'm withdrawing from any consideration of being the Democratic Party's nominee for the presidency. This does not reduce in any way my concerns for the challenges facing our country, my belief that I can provide the best leadership in order to meet these challenges, or my intentions to remain fully engaged in the debates that are facing us. How I remain as a voice will depend on what kind of support I'm shown in the coming weeks as I meet with people from all sides of America's political landscape, and I intend to do that. I hold strong views about where our country needs to go. I will never change those views in order to adopt to some party platform as a way of getting nominated. I feel strongly that if I were nominated, that we would win, and that if I were president, I could assemble an administration filled with great minds, good leaders, and capable people from all sectors of our society who share my vision and who could bring this country back to its revered position as a beacon of fairness at home and of principled common sense in our foreign policies abroad. Though I'm not going away, I'm thinking about all my options. 240 years ago, the Declaration of Independence from our status as a colony from Great Britain was announced. It's time for a new Declaration of Independence, not from an outside power, but from the paralysis of a political system that no longer serves the interests of a vast majority of the American people. The presidency has gained too much power. The Congress has grown weak and often irrelevant. The present-day Democratic and Republican parties are not providing the answers and the guarantees that we can rely on. The financial sector, represented by the Wall Street bankers, is caring less and less about the conditions of the average American worker, for the simple reason that their well-being depends more on the global economy than it does on the American economy. Our political process is jammed up. It needs an honest broker who respects all sides, who understands the complicated nature of how our federal system works, who will communicate a vision for the country's future here at home and in our foreign policy, and who has a proven record of actually getting things done. I've worked with both sides. I have a lot of respect for many people who are members of both political parties. I know how broken our system really is. This country needs a new dynamic that respects and honors our history, our traditions, and is not a slave to the power structure that are failing us. I love this country and all that it has allowed me to do and my family to do over the course of the last several decades and even generations. I always have and always will put a country above political party or personal ambition. So here we are. I'm stepping aside from the Democratic primary process, but I will never abandon my loyalties to the people who do the hard daily work of keeping this country great at home and secure abroad, and we'll just have to see